Welcome to Cyber Materials Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for a high-energy, quick-hit recap of the week's biggest cyber stories, from data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special: live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. Without further ado, let's get this event started.
Hi, hello, and welcome everyone to another episode of Ask Me Anything Cyber, our weekly live session where we explore real cybersecurity questions from you, the audience, and discuss issues that are shaping the field today. I am Prapti, and I'm glad that you're joining us here today for the event about career. So, before we dive into the core discussions, we do have a quick question for everyone. So feel free to leave your comments in the live chat. The question is, what do you think most people get wrong while working about, in cyber? So make sure that you leave your questions in the live chat, and we are looking forward to your answers. And keep in mind that we want today's session to be very interactive. Think about it as a conversation. We'll be asking questions, hearing your perspectives, and digging into the realities behind building a career in cyber and the parts that people do not always talk about. And to talk more about it, I have Sophie here. Hi, Sophie. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today again. And I'm happy to talk about what's happening in cybersecurity and everybody's career. And we know that cyber career is one of the fastest growing industries today, but with that growth comes a lot of noise. So we're going to be cutting through all that, and we're going to be focusing on real experiences, real challenges, and what actually makes a difference when you're building or advancing your career in this space. But before we get started on that, we're really excited to welcome a special guest who is bringing a powerful and important perspective into the cybersecurity conversation. Today, we're going to be having Brenda Johnson. She's going to be talking about the insights on the Women in Security documentary, which is directed by Yvette Freeman and is premiering during the RSA Conference Week in San Francisco. So let's welcome Brenda.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Hi,
Thank you.
Brenda. How are you?
Hi. Hi. Thank you for having me on your show today, Sophia. I appreciate it. I'm super excited to be a part of Nexus Shirt, which is one of the sponsors for this screening in San Francisco. I want to invite all the guests that are watching today to come see us during RSA. I know there's a lot going on in RSA, but I think this is going to be one of the most wonderful events you can attend. And it's Tuesday and Wednesday of the RSA show next week from 4 to 7 p.m. at the AMC Metreon. So definitely come. We welcome you. And I will say there will be popcorn if anyone's asking. So
That's great because this is on a real theater, right?
it's a real theater. It's the Metreon Theater. It's walking distance from the RSA facility at the Moscone Center. So
That's
it'll be a
great.
nice walk. There's networking time from 4 to 4:45, and then from
Yeah.
5 on will be the actual screening of this wonderful film.
And I believe
So,
that we have a sneak peek on what is
yep,
this documentary about. So I would love for the audience to watch this, and then we can dig on more details. Okay, let's
definitely.
go for it.
This documentary is important because all the different stories, all the different successes, it's there to inspire all of you to join this industry.
The women highlighted in this documentary have experienced quite a few things in their career: struggles, triumphs, trials, many, many things that have paved the way for younger women to come into this industry and really make an impact. And we as a company are super proud to be a sponsor of the Women in Security documentary screening.
I'm thrilled that we're participating in the Women in Security premiere here in San Francisco. When I started in this industry right out of college, there really weren't many women, whether it was in sales, go-to-market roles, or across cybersecurity more broadly. So seeing this documentary come together and showcasing the real stories and voices of women across the security industry is incredibly inspiring.
I think all opportunities to highlight the role of women as a minority in an industry that's dominated by men are really positive. If we look at the women who are part of this production, there's some incredible people, and it's wonderful to see their work highlighted.
Being invited to support this documentary was both a professional honor and something personally meaningful to me. I'm truly honored to be part of the Women in Security documentary premiere. I immediately knew it was something I wanted to be a part of. I'm incredibly grateful to Centra for including us and for their commitment to elevating women in cybersecurity. At Defy, we're proud to stand with Centra and our partners in sponsoring this important initiative.
I am super excited that Schematic is a first-time sponsor of the Women in Security documentary at RSA this year. We're here to celebrate our women in security and elevate them, amplify them, and give them the attention and recognition they deserve.
Portland is helping to bring the Women in Security documentary to RSA because it's time we stop talking about diversity as a metric and start talking about the actual human stories of the women who are holding the line for us every day. I hope you'll join me for this screening, not just as a professional, but as someone who cares about where this industry is headed.
We have made some meaningful progress and great strides, but representation still matters. Visibility matters. The Women in Security documentary amplifies voices that have too often gone unheard. It challenges outdated narratives and highlights the resilience, innovation, and leadership women bring to the security roles across the globe.
Supporting this film is our way of showing that we believe in creating more opportunities, increasing visibility, and helping to open doors for the next generation of women in cybersecurity. At Delinea, we believe protecting people starts with making sure everyone has a seat at the table. We're honored to be a part of this important momentum. Thank you.
That's amazing. The trailer looks so exciting.
It really, really is amazing. The comments that attendees have had about this film, and this has been premiered across the US and beginning to be globally. I think it was recently premiered in Ireland as well. But the comments that we've got generally feature 3 words. One is timely, one is grounding, and the third one is overdue. And I would really tend to agree with the word overdue. This began with just being a film, and now it's really a global movement. It's a movement to really highlight the struggles of women in cybersecurity and in technology in general, what we've had to overcome, our triumphs, and the way that many of the women that are featured in this film have pioneered the way for others. So I'm really, really proud to be one of the sponsors of this event in San Francisco. I can share some personal reasons why, if that's okay, if I have time.
I would love to. Yes, I would love to hear your experience.
Okay. Back in the 80s, and I'm dating myself here. Yes, I'm older, but back in the 80s, I was one of only 5 women in a graduating engineering class. And I don't remember the exact number of my graduating class, but I think it was like 560 some. So we're sitting there in the auditorium waiting to graduate, and we're waving at each other, right? And then I go on and I go to work for a very large Fortune 100 company, which shall remain unnamed. And I was only one of 3 women engineers in a division of hundreds of engineers. And we began to realize that, we were being talked over. Everything was subtle, nothing really overt, but we were being talked over. Our ideas were not really being accepted. It was almost like, oh, go over here and sit in the corner and put in your computer and be quiet,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we formed what we called the Technical Women's Consortium. We liked the word consortium because we thought it sounded important. And we began having just meetings in the cafeteria. How do we overcome this? How do we restate what our ideas are to where they don't get tramped on? How do we go in and handle all the sports and the war analogies that the men use? How do we engage with our brothers, the men in this industry, in such a way that we're making a meaningful impact? And the division manager called us troublemakers. But we persisted, and I did see us 3 making an impact and beginning to really have meaningful results that we could show the upper management and go through. And the women in this documentary, they are doing that. They're paving the way for the younger women in this industry to make an impact. And diversity is extremely important. I've been with a number of larger companies, Cisco Systems being one, where studies were performed that showed that inclusion and diversity made a huge impact in the overall performance of the organization. Why is this so key here? Because cybersecurity keeps people safe. So there's a direct tie to inclusion and diversity to cybersecurity keeping people safe. And as I said, there will be popcorn at this event. That's one of the questions that I get. And the other big question that I get is, are men allowed to come and attend this event? I can't even believe that people are asking this.
Of course, we need allies, right?
Yeah, exactly. We not only invite men to come and attend, we encourage them, because the strides that we've made have been with our brothers that have the chutzpah, the guts to stand up for us, fight for us, and to point out things. If they see somebody being stepped on, their ideas being taken over or downtrodden, there are men out there that say, hey, wait a minute, she thought of that. That was her idea. Oh, you know what? Don't talk over her. Listen to her. And I want to encourage all men to continue to do that for us, to be our allies, to be our brothers, and to come to this event and watch and hear what the women have to say. So I looked at the attendee list, and there are a lot of men signed up, and I'm thrilled to see that.
That's an amazing story, and I love that we're talking about this, because this is something that has been like brewing for a long time. And it's good for other women to see that they are not the only ones going through whatever is happening in the cybersecurity path. And for everybody that wants to attend, they can RSVP, they can get a slot for one of the screenings. It's going to be on Tuesday, March 24th and Wednesday, March 25th in San Francisco, very close to the Moscone Square where RSA is happening. So if anybody wants to attend, reach out to Brenda or scan the QR code throughout the show. You would just have to fill up a Google form and get your place at the screening, right?
Right. And if this mission resonates with you, and this is no longer just a film, it's a mission, it's a global mission, there is a website for the Women in Security documentary. And on that website, there's a page that says Get Involved. You can volunteer for the screenings. You can help the crews set up. You can nominate women whose stories you think need to be heard. And there are many, many different ways to get involved. And we welcome you, men or women, to come and join this mission.
That's amazing. And thank you so much, Brenda,
Mhm.
for
Thank
sharing
you.
your story and sharing everybody's story here. And I welcome everybody to either volunteer or watch the movie, the documentary. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this documentary as well. Thank you, Brenda, so much.
Thank you for having me, Sophia.
So
Thank
have
you,
a great
Brenda.
week at RSA, and looking forward to hearing more about the Women in Security documentary soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye. So that was Brenda with Women in Security documentary, which is, I feel it's a great way to showcase women's stories in cybersecurity, what they've been through. And if you feel that you can be one of those voices in probably in part two of this documentary, feel free to reach out to them. They do have a website, you can volunteer. But Prabdi, now that I have you here, we are going to be talking about also like people's careers in cybersecurity, right? So not
Yeah.
only for women, but for everybody that has been trying to break into cyber and how to get like the best out of your path and your choices. So you want to kick off this
Yeah.
event? Yeah.
Yeah, it was first of all great for having Brenda over, and she made quite a few powerful points. And the discussion is very important for more inclusivity of women in the field because cybersecurity affects everyone and it's about keeping everybody safe. And it is always valuable for voices, experiences, and stories because that is what eventually is going to help shape the industry in meaningful ways. And as
Yeah.
you mentioned before, it is one of the fastest growing industries, but it does not always come with a lot of clarity. And we did have a bunch of events before where we had recruiters, we had the perspective of students, but today I'd like to
Mhm.
get some perspective from you about the assumptions and what it takes for people to succeed and what matters the most, the day to day reality from you as an incident responder. So
Yeah.
let's kick off with career reality check what cyber isn't telling you. So let's start with something simple. How did you get into cybersecurity?
So as everybody's stories, like I didn't get into cyber like with the perfect roadmap. Back when I started, there was not a career in cybersecurity. There was not even a master's in cybersecurity at that time, very well established. So I went to engineering school and I started working as a tech support agent. So mostly it was like incident response, but for technical stuff. And I used to deal with a lot of customers with technical issues, but I feel like during that my experience, I built skills over time. I learned through real world problems. I realized that cybersecurity isn't just a career, a one career.
Mhm.
It's an ecosystem. Like what I wish more people to understand is that success in cyber isn't about being like the smartest person in the room, but it's about being adaptable and consistent and choosing a specific path. So that was like the most important thing when I talk to people in cyber and I said, you need to pick a path. It's an ecosystem in cyber. So you can say, I work in cyber, but there's so many things you can do in cyber. So it's very important to learn exactly where you want to focus on and build on that and get experience and get contacts and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I always like starting with this question because it just reminds people that there is no one way or one single correct way into cybersecurity. At the same time, a lot of people are still building their expectations, around myths because, like I said, it is a myth that there is one single way into cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And whether it is if you should absolutely need to be a hacker or that certificates guarantee a job or that the field is always as glamorous as it looks online, like we see in the show, The Hacker Man.
Hmm.
So let's get into some of those myths and realities. So, the
Yeah.
myth number one, right? A lot of people think that you need to be highly technical or already know hacking to get into cyber. So, how true is that?
So this is a myth. I mean, you don't, that's one of the biggest like misconceptions in my opinion. Like cybersecurity includes a lot of things like risk management, compliance, threat intelligence, incident response, cloud security, policy, privacy, leadership, more, and so on and so forth. So technical skills are really valuable, but it depends on what path in cybersecurity you are.
Mm-hmm.
But I always feel like specialization matters more than stereotypes. So in this case, like you have to be a hacker to be in cybersecurity. It may not be useful if you're working in like policy making or in governance or you are like in compliance. So they're not like intrinsic. They're not like you need to be a hacker to work in cyber. You can be a hacker and work in cyber, but they're not connected. So in my opinion, this is a myth, because what I always see that the most impactful roles require like strong communication, be great on a team, and analytical thinking, and not just coding, I can say.
Yeah, and in this very event, we've had people who went from sales to cybersecurity. So it really depends, and it doesn't really have to have a full-on technical knowledge. And now, since we are myth busting, I would like to know:
Yeah.
are there, are what are some of the most overlooked roles in cybersecurity that people should really know about?
Honestly, it's hard to say, but because it depends on what is happening on in the reality of the time on cybersecurity. Because it's like so like fast, like growing and evolving
Yeah,
cybersecurity. So it's very hard to focus in one specific role today, because tomorrow it could be something else because there's a new threat coming up.
yeah.
But sometimes I see that like security communications or threat intelligence, it's a little bit overlooked, I can say, because when you work in threat intelligence, you do a lot of research, and you don't need to be specifically like super technical for threat intelligence. It's mostly like research analysis. So that's one of the roles that it's a little bit overlooked. But as I mentioned before, these roles are critical because they connect the technical side of security and also with the business decisions, risk, and real world response.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Sophie, for your perspective on this. And I was actually scrolling through LinkedIn today, and I
Hmm.
saw one of the posts mention about certifications and how
Hmm.
their thoughts about certification and hands on experience, how they differ from each other. So, to talk about that, certificates matter to people entering this field, and where do they actually genuinely help?
So this is something that we've been like discussing on the show a lot with a lot of guests, and how like importance are certifications on a resume.
Yeah,
But we always go back to the same conclusion, and we discussed this last week with Teresa, and we also discussed this with Abhijit, and we talk about
Stephanie.
like certification can help you get the interview, right? But they don't guarantee like experience or
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So when you're hiring a team, you look for practical thinking, how they solve problems, how they communicate risk, and how they respond under pressure. But when you talk about like certifications, it's mostly theoretical
Mm-hmm.
knowledge and not much practical knowledge. And I remember when we also had Stephanie, she was a cybersecurity recruiter. We talk about the difference of having a certification as opposed to having like a
Tool.
lab or a
Yeah.
tool or something that you built before. So those are two different things. One is practical knowledge, and the other one is theoretical knowledge. I know like having certification prepares you personally to have the knowledge and to have the capacity to understand certain terms when you're on a team, or to write reports or communicate with your peers. However, it doesn't translate to experience. So sometimes you can have all the certifications in the world, but employers are still going to look for that small experience that you have to in the real world. Like, how did you actually solve real world problems? So in my opinion, sometimes labs, projects, CTF, writings, or even little hand-on experience often weighs more than a list of credentials saying I passed this, I did that, and did whatever. Because those certifications are very expensive. So they
Mm-hmm.
pile on a lot of other things, and they don't guarantee you a job just for
Yep.
having them. So it's like a combination of both. I don't discourage people getting certifications because it's very important, because you stayed up to date, You are very good understanding certain terms and terminologies, some formalities, how to build the reports and everything. However, I don't think they're gonna wait more as opposed to someone that has a real hands-on experience
Mm-hmm.
and a resume with a lot of like knowledge, practical knowledge.
Yeah. And I had like a thought about this was that I don't know if you would agree with me, but certificates will not always show what you have worked on in real time. And sometimes you need to work on tools that are applicable in real time, especially with AI and everything in the mix. So, would you agree with me? Because what would certificates still fail to show about a candidate?
Yeah, I could say like certifications don't really show how someone think under pressure, how they solve real world problems, or how
Mm-hmm.
they communicate with the team. And they also don't capture like hands-on experience or judgment or how someone operates in this high risk environment. So it's not exactly translates to experience. As I said, it's mostly theoretical, and it helps you with terminology, terms, way of building reports, formalities, and how to stay up to date with what is happening in cyber.
Yeah. And about the next thing, I think it is not something that people usually still talk about. And so, what do you think it is that people don't talk about when entering into their cyber careers?
Yeah. So this is one of the realities that I wanted to talk about. And we know the burnt out is real. And we
Mm-hmm.
do have a question in LinkedIn
Yeah.
actually popping up. Uh, um, Tony, he asked, are there any tips about burnouts in cybersecurity? And I feel you, Tony, because burnout can be very intense, especially if you work in incident response or security operations, alerts, breaches, deadlines, and pressure from your leadership, customers, laws, regulations. It all can pile up. And when you work in cybersecurity, it requires a lot of boundaries, a lot of supportive leadership, and of course, continuous learning. And the burnout is real, but the best professionals treat this as a long-term craft, and this is not a sprint. So whenever you feel burnt out, take a pause, because sometimes it can affect your decision making. It can affect how you treat the customers, how you react against a problem, against an incident. So that's very important to always take a pause to think about you as a human before your professional cybersecurity. So it's like something like real, like this is a reality here. And another thing I can give you as a tip, it's like stop treating every alert you receive if you work in incident response as a bridge or as an
Yeah.
urgency, because most of the time the alerts are mostly um, just alerts, right, with the sense of false urgency. So not every alert is critical, I can say. So as a professional, you need to learn how to prioritize based on the impact, and accept that you will never clear the queue completely, because alerts piles up, incidents piles up. So it's very important to understand what can wait and what cannot wait, and it's going to help you with the burnout, because when you learn how to prioritize, it will help you make the better decisions and improve your response, and not fall in the pit of like, oh, I can't do this anymore, and I'm so burnt out that you miss real high priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And it can affect your job and your daily life and results. And and one thing I always mention, and I know we have talked about this in the past, is that you need to accept that you cannot know everything. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
work in a team. So when you focus on your niche, and it's expected from you to know what to do, but not the entire industry. So it's okay to not understand every new CVE or tool coming out there. And now with AI, there's so many new things
Yeah.
that they are being integrated into SOC tools. So it's very important for you to learn how to detach from like okay, this is my niche, this is what I know, and when to ask for help. And accept that you always work in a team, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you don't understand anything, something, and to also communicate yourself and say, you know what, I don't think I'm going to be able to take over, please give me a hand on this. And that's it. That those are the things that are going to help you.
Thank you, Tony, so much for asking this question. And also, I would like to add that we had talked about this before, and there are many groups that you could join, and they actually talk about burnout and how burnout will affect cyber professionals. So you can actually go there and attend, and even they have online events, you can attend those too. And, the path is not straight, but has a few bumps, but I'm sure that everybody following these steps will be able to make it.
One
And
of the
another,
groups that we
yeah,
one of those groups on one of our events last year, it was Mental Health Hackers.
yeah.
And it's a very nice organization. Thank you, Amanda, for co-founding this. And they help you with resources, with materials, supporting groups, Zoom calls, where you can talk in confidence about what is happening with you, how to go through a burnout phase, or how not to fall in the pit. So those organizations are going to really help you with the burnout. And there's no restriction. So no matter where you are in the world, you will be able to join this group.
Yeah. So the group name was Mental Health Hackers. So feel free to join and reach out. And before we go to the further discussion, another reminder that the poll is ongoing. What do you think most people get wrong about working in cyber? Go ahead and leave your answers in the live chat. We are happy to know your perspective on it. And just like Tony, make sure that if you have any questions, this is a very interactive live session. Join the conversation, ask us questions, and Sophie will definitely answer. So, Sophie, another thing, we already talked about that it is not necessary that people need to be a hacker, but many people think cybersecurity is still purely technical. And what would you say the reality is?
Hmm. Well, I mean, cybersecurity is a business discipline too. I mean, decisions mostly are influenced by budgets, regulations, risk tolerance, executive priorities,
Mhm.
customer necessities. So the ability to translate technical risk into business impact, it's a superpower, I can say. So if you can explain why something may matters in plain language, you will become far more valuable for the business.
And what do you think is the biggest shock for people who expect security teams to operate, independently from the rest of the business?
Well, I mean, the biggest shock I can say is that security teams, they don't operate independently. They are part of a business. They are
Yeah.
part of a team. So sometimes, most of the time, I can say security decisions are driven by a budget, by how much you're willing to lose, or your risk tolerance, and of course business priorities. So success always comes from collaborations between those teams, between budget, finance, CISOs, CFOs, and communication, and aligning with the organizations and not working in isolation. So if you need a tool, you will have to ask for it, and you will have to make your case and why this tool is needed for your team. So you will have to convince why it's better for the business, that this tool is going to make a difference, an impact, or change the way you're doing things right now, is going to save money by spending a little bit more.
Yeah, and for somebody entering the field or a beginner, what do you think makes somebody successful in cybersecurity today?
Hmm. Ah, well, this is not just like, I can say, like just technical depth. I can say when you want to stand out. So in this, I mean, this question is a little bit tricky because it depends mostly like on the person, like
Mm-hmm.
how is their personality, how they react against problems. But most of the time is your ability to be curious, like curiosity, communication, consistency. So people who stand out, they are always learning. They document their work. They build real experience, and they can explain like complex issues to the rest of their peers, not only their security team. They will be able to go on meetings and say, you know what, we this is the extent of the bridge, this is how it works. So being able to communicate with the rest of your team members, and not just your security team, because they are always like, they know the terms, they know how it works, they know what's in the background. But be that person that that you're able to go to those like meetings, and to be
Mm-hmm.
able to show, to understand. And one of the things I always mention to be successful always is the networking part of cybersecurity, which is like really important, and is at the same level as your technical ability, because
Yeah.
you can be a pro and you can be the best technical person in the world, but if you cannot write documentation, or if you cannot collaborate with your peers, it's going to be very hard to have someone in the team like that,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, we still live in a society, we are humans, and we still communicate with each other. So
Yeah.
there's still that part of like human aspect of cybersecurity professionals.
Yeah, and again, once again, for beginners, as 2026, you mentioned AI
Mhm.
having lots of tools out there. So, what should people really be spending more time doing if they want to break into cybersecurity?
Well, this is something that we always talk about, is like pick a direction, pick a path. If it's going to be security operations, governance, cloud, threat intelligence, or whatever. And then build practical skills through labs, simulation, projects, or even if you work in governance, read, subscribe to newsletters, try to learn what is going on, what is new, what new regulation, what new fine, like which company was fine. So it's going to give you a perspective, so you can protect your assets, you can protect the business, you can protect your customers. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very important to always stay on the like keep learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not easy, because once you are on a job, some people tend to flatten out and stay there and not improving, because like I'm there and they don't tend to learn. But this field is constantly evolving. Threats are coming from everywhere, different threats, different type of malwares, different type of customers,
Mm-hmm.
different type of data that is being
Yeah.
leaked, different regulations, markets. So it's very important to stay on the loop and learn and see what is happening out there.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. Because with AI in the mix now, you would see that maybe 10 years ago, there weren't these many problems with AI and deepfake. But now I think cyber professionals are facing
Yeah.
this problem and helping people in this problem much more. So, speaking of AI, I had a few questions about, is it myth or is it reality? AI will replace entry level cybersecurity roles. What do you think about that?
Uh, well, this is a reality, but it will not replace.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it will change roles. They would not eliminate the need for humans, because at the end of the day, there should be a responsible human making probably the final decision, or the oversight, or who is managing this agent, or who is programming this agent. So it may not, like, it will replace probably the way we know them as of now, but
Yeah.
not completely.
Yep. And I think we had Mark speak about this, that AI will still have an oversight. I think the maximum that we are trying to reach right now is the level 3 in the maturity model, where we will be able to tell the AI what to do, and we will have to overlook and make sure that it does not do something that is, uh, too lands you in trouble. So the oversight will
Actually,
always be
and actually, Mark has a very good like section on his blog. He talks about autonomous cyber,
there.
and it's very good, because it's giving the perspective on how we're going to be living in the world with where AIs are
Yeah.
making all the cybersecurity decisions. But at the same time, it talks about how these humans are the ones giving the input and creating the
Mhm.
architecture and supervising, and of course regulations are written by humans, so we still need those inputs yet. So I want to invite everybody to join Autonomous Cyber by 911 Cyber,
Yeah.
and it's a very fine piece on what where we are heading, the future, and of course the present, because it's right here.
Yeah. And once again, I would like to ask you, myth or reality, cyber is only for technical people?
Myth.
Definitely. And because, like, we see so many people from so many various backgrounds get into
Yeah,
cybersecurity. And
yeah.
another thing, myth or reality, once you get into cybersecurity, your career path is clearly defined.
Another myth, because I always say pick your path, because cybersecurity is an ecosystem. There's a lot of things going on,
Yeah.
and you need to be sure that you pick the right like path in your career so you can build on skills and improve over time.
Yeah, and pick on something that you have to do and have very, very much a lot of interest in. And one last thing, if you had to give one final piece of advice for anyone trying to build a long-term career in
Mm.
cybersecurity, what would that be?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, it's a tough question, because I mean, advice I can give it from only my perspective and my experience, which is probably completely
Hmm.
different for a lot of people, especially maybe different gender.
Yeah.
But I can say treat cybersecurity as a craft, because you always have to stay curious, keep learning, communicate. And for me, the number one like advice will be networking.
Mhm.
Uh, find those peers, find those people in cyber, network with them, learn from them. You can even pick a mentor or a
Mhm.
friend or someone that you can discuss what is happening, and that's one of the most important things. And I love that cybersecurity has a very strong community, a strong sense of like
Mhm.
community, and they get together and there's multiple conferences, multiple events, meetups everywhere in the world. And that's the way we are advancing cybersecurity, because that's where we share knowledge, that's where we partner. And it's not just like left for universities to build the content, to build the knowledge, but it's also for the professionals that we get together. We write papers, we
Yeah.
write about threat intelligence, we write about threat actors, we exchange knowledge. And this community, like these events, are very important to build your network and to stay in the loop of what is happening.
Yeah. And if you were to ask me, how would you start in cybersecurity? I would say subscribe to the Cyber Briefing newsletter. But that's only if you ask me. Definitely subscribe. And because we do deliver a 360 of all the headlines that matters in cybersecurity today right in your inbox. And thank you, Sophie, for such a honest, practical conversation. I think discussions like this are very important. They help people see cybersecurity careers like more realistically, because it's not just, all glamorous. Sometimes it has ups and downs. And also you gave so many tips for burnouts. I hope that this helps people out there. Now, before
Yeah.
we move into the Cyber Briefing recap, let's get Sophie to talk about Know Your Enemy. So let's start with the intro video.
Every cyber attack has a face, from malware and scams to the actors behind them. Know your enemy. Stay one step ahead.
So this is a new segment we created for 2026.
Yep.
And we felt that it was something important to talk about in the show, about one specific enemy that is out there and is affecting regular people, not only professionals, but also regular users. And it's important to actually like spread the word, because this is part of education, our
Yeah.
educational segment. And today we're going to be talking about Schleyer or Adrosec, which is a
Hmm.
browser hijacking malware. is not a threat actor per se, it's a malware. So when we talk about like threats affecting everyday users, Slayer and Adrosec are the prime examples of how attackers are quietly abusing the way people use the internet, and especially through malicious downloads and browser manipulation. So, how many of you out there have visited a website and it says, in order to play the video, you need to download this codec or you need to install this extension? So, we're going to be talking about this specific
Yeah.
malware delivery, which is through browser hijacking, and how they are like using social engineering to deliver this payload. So, what are these threats, right? Slayer and Adrosec, they are two type of malware families, and they are designed to target web browsers. And they often spread through fake updates, pirated software, or deceptive download prompts. So, sometimes you visit a website and says the Adobe Flash Player is out of date. You need to update it,
Yep.
and that's where you get hooked. So instead of like they focus on they don't behave like traditional malware, and instead they focus on taking control of your browser experience. So how does it work? The delivery is very subtle. The users are being tricked into downloading what looks like a legitimate update or helpful tool. It could be like a media player or browser update or Chrome extension.
Yeah.
And the installation is very silent because sometimes antivirus are not able to detect what is happening. And that's when the malware only injects itself on the browser. And from then, it starts changing research results. They inject ads on your browser. You get
Oh.
pop-ups, and they sometimes redirect the traffic to a malicious or monetized page. So you visit or you click those pages. So
Would ad
it's
blockers help in this situation?
not really, because it's built in your browser, so
Oh,
it will overpower your website,
okay.
the website per se. So it will just be in your browser, which is an application installed on your computer, as opposed to a website. And sometimes, in some cases, it can monitor browser activity and they can collect users' data or steal credentials with like a clipboard sniffing.
Wow.
So, why it matters to regular people? Because you will be noticing that your search results look wrong or it's filled with ads that you haven't like, as you said, I have an
Yeah.
ad blocker and it's not working. And your browser may feel a little bit slower, or if you go to Task Manager, if you're using Windows, you will see the CPU is overpowered or
Yep.
overused. And you can sometimes be redirected to an unsafe or unfamiliar website that you haven't clicked on that. And it sometimes opens the door to more serious malware. So this small browser hijack, it would lead you to a worse
Yeah.
family malware families. And what is like, you know what it makes it like a little like more dangerous than other browser extensions that we have talked is because like sometimes users, they don't even notice. They just say, you know what, I think my computer is slow, or this browser, I'm having a bad internet connection or
Yeah.
bad browser experience, without thinking about like my browser has been compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So the typical impact, what we've seen about the Slayer and Adrosec, is browser hijacking, unwanted redirects, ad injection, revenue fraud, tracking and data collection, and potential exposure to additional malwares. So what is the key takeaway of this for regular users? Um, Slayer and Adrosec, they show how attackers don't always need like a complex exploit, and sometimes they just rely on tricking the user into installing something that looks harmless. So once inside, they quietly take control of your browsing experience without even you noticing. So that
Yep. We are seeing like a lot.
like yeah, we've seen a lot. And for anybody that wants to learn more about this, we're going to be posting on our Substack some details about this new threat actor, and this threat, not threat actor, this new threat,
Yeah.
It hasn't been associated with a specific threat actor because it's a malware,
Mm.
a family of malware. So it's important to learn more and how to protect yourself and anybody around you.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, I think this section is going to go up on Substack on our website, so you'll be able to find out how they behave and how to protect yourself against these threats. But before that, do the basics. Make sure that you subscribe to Cyber Briefing because over there you will learn about all of these new threats that are up and coming. And speaking of the Cyber Briefing, we're going to head into the Cyber Briefing recap where we break down
Stay
this
ahead of the
week's
cyber
biggest
curve with
cyber
real-time
stories.
alerts, incident reports, and the latest cybersecurity news, all in one streamlined, easy-to-read newsletter. Join more than 20,000 subscribers who rely on Cyber Briefing, available on LinkedIn, Medium, and now on Substack. Don't wait to protect your digital world. Subscribe today and stay informed with Cyber Briefing by Cyber Material.
So the first one we have to discuss today is, we do have discussions if it's Apple or Android. So over here, Apple is urging iPhone update after hacks. So what happened?
So this is an alert that just came out today on the cyber briefing, and they issued an energy warning telling iPhone users to update their devices immediately. And the reason is that there are vulnerabilities that attackers are already actively exploiting. So this is a little bit worrisome. What that means is that the real attacks are happening right now, and they're targeting users who haven't updated their iOS. So what is happening, they are executing malicious code on their devices, accessing sensitive data. So if your device isn't updated, you're running software that attackers already know how to break into. And the reason why Apple is pushing these updates so aggressively is because once the vulnerability is discovered and weaponized, the only real defense is patching as soon as possible. So for those who are running on an older version of their iOS, update your phone immediately and don't delay security patches, and keep an eye on any push Apple is sending your iPhone because there's a reason behind those.
Yeah. And the next one is an incident that is there in our briefing today. It made it in the headline. So it's about the Aura data breach that exposed over 900K contacts. So what happened there?
So this is a little bit worrisome too because Aura, it's a company that they do identity theft protection.
Yeah.
And the fact that they have been exposed, it means that the identity of all their customers has been, breached. For those who don't know exactly what it is, Aura, uh, they are providing a solution to monitor your identity online. They give you insurance for identity theft protection. And now threat actors have access to that sensitive information. And almost around 900,000 contact information has been leaked. Now, this is like where things get dangerous. And I always mention this is like, most of these breaches, they fuel social engineering campaigns because attackers, they now have legitimate data to make the scams more convincing. So what should people take away from this? First, assume that the data leaked is always at some level of risk, even if you trusted this platform for your identity protection. And second, you need to be careful when you receive emails from Aura in the future. Make sure they are from them. And this is what, and the third one is like exactly why we talk so much about defense in depth and user awareness, because even if the system is secure and it's supposed to protect your data, the data
Yeah.
itself can be exposed, elsewhere. So it's worrisome because there's a potential fuel for the next wave of phishing and identity-based attacks. So if you have been a customer of Aura or your current customers, you can go to Have I Been Pawn and check if your data has been leaked in this new
Yeah.
data breach. And I feel they're going to be sending over some communications to their customers if they have not done yet. So if you did not receive one, maybe you are not in their in that data breach yet. They don't know the
Yeah.
extent. So keep an eye.
Yep. And the next one I would like to know more about is the Interpol disrupts global cybercrime. I would like to know more about it, Sophie. So, what happened?
So we always try to talk about it good news. So in this case, Interpol, they recently led a global operation called Operation Synergia 3. So it's the third time they're doing this. And the scale is very significant because this time they are touching around 72 countries. And it was a coordinated effort between law enforcement from all these countries to take down cybercrime infrastructure. So they took down around 45,000 malicious servers and IP addresses that were used to run attacks like phishing, malware distribution, ransomware, and they also made 94 arrests and they seized over 200 devices, which shows that this was not just like a digital disruption, it was also physical and coordinated enforcement as well. And what is important to understand is how these networks actually operated. They were based out of Bangladesh and Togo, and authorities uncovered organizations, groups running scams like identity theft, credit card fraud, romance scams, extortion, and most important ones were social media account takeovers.
Okay.
A lot of these attacks were not highly technical. They were mostly social engineering driven. So these attackers were exploiting trust and human behavior. For example, they used to like impersonate people on social media. They used to message their friends and family and trick them into sending them money over. So that's an important reminder. Not all cyber attacks are complex. Many are about deception, social engineering, all about this. So, and it's important to know that they took down over 33,000 fraudulent websites designed to look like banks, government services, casinos, like e-market. So these sites were built to steal credentials and to trick people into making payments. So this is like a good news, I can say, for regular users that they have been fallen victim of cyber attacks like social engineering or identity theft, or they may have sent money as part of a romance scam.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sophie, for breaking down the headlines for us today.
No problem. Thank you, everyone. And I encourage everyone to subscribe to Cyber Briefing to stay on the loop and to learn what is happening out there.
Yeah, all you have to do is scan the QR code and subscribe to us over on LinkedIn or on Substack. You'll get the headline straight to your inbox. And a final reminder before we wrap things up is Echo Party call for papers, and the 10% discount is Miami 10. So make sure that you use the discount coupon and don't sit on an idea. If you have interest in technical talks or you want to build a strong community, the deadlines are coming up. And a reminder that we are here for you every Thursday. Coming up, we actually have a very fun event planned for you guys. It's going to be on gaming, and we do have a special guest who will be joining us. His name is Tim Higdon. He is the author of a book on Roblox safety. So looking forward to hearing from him, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next Ask Me Anything Cyber, a fun, interactive weekly event for everything cybersecurity. Join us every week at noon Eastern Time for another high-energy recap of the week's biggest cyber stories, from data breaches and threat intel to major legal updates. Whether it's a high-profile hack, a new APT on the rise, or a must-attend summit, we've got it covered. But that's not all. We'll also break down the latest job market trends, share our thoughts on cyber stocks, and give you actionable insights to stay ahead. And of course, we wrap things up with what makes this show special, live Q&A with you. Have a question about a breach? Want to know how a threat works? Curious about getting started in cyber? Let us know and we'll answer it live. See you next week.